Evan staggered through the thick alien jungle, sweat running down his forehead, heart hammering against his ribs. His body was weak, drained from days of trekking through the toxic swamps of Threxis. Every step felt heavier than the last. He stumbled over the tangled roots of enormous crimson trees, their sap glowing faintly in the dim light of the twin moons above. A sharp pain shot through his side as a poisonous vine cut across his torso. He gasped, coughing, and fell forward into the damp undergrowth. The air was thick, heavy with the smell of damp earth and strange metallic tangs. Evan's vision blurred. His mouth was dry, lips cracking, tongue sticking to the roof of his mouth. He knew he wouldn't survive long without water, or anything to sustain him. Desperation clawed at him. That was when he saw it, a faintly glowing crimson pool nestled between roots and rocks as if the jungle had formed it just for him. Without thinking, he crawled toward it, ignoring the slight shiver of fear that ran down his spine. The moment his lips touched the liquid, he felt an explosion of warmth spread through his body. It was sweet, rich, and strangely metallic. He drank quickly, greedily, as if the pool itself had whispered, "Drink and live." His vision cleared. His muscles seemed to regain some strength, and the exhaustion that had been crushing him like a weight lifted slightly. Relief washed over him. He felt alive again. Too alive. A voice shattered the moment like lightning. "That's my blood, human." "Stop drinking!" Evan froze. His hands were still in the pool, and he slowly looked up. Standing before him was a towering figure, taller than any human he had ever seen. Her skin shimmered with a pale lavender glow, muscles taut and strong, eyes glowing like molten amber. Her hair, long and black as the void, flowed around her shoulders like living shadows. A pair of curved, elegant fangs peeked from her lips, and the expression on her face was a mixture of fury, shock, and disbelief. Evan blinked. Sorry?" he said, his voice hoarse. "I wasn't thirsty. Really thirsty." The alien warrior's eyes narrowed. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "This is my blood!" "Royal blood of the Zalthar line. Humans are not supposed to survive drinking it. You insolent creature." Evan coughed and wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. Wait. Royal blood?" His voice cracked, but he couldn't stop the faint grin from forming. "So does that make me like royalty now?" Vylara, her name Evan would learn later, bared her fangs in a mixture of horror and rage. "You dare joke? You could die in moments. Yet you remain alive. This is impossible." Evan staggered to his feet, testing his newfound strength. He flexed his fingers experimentally. "I feel great. Weird but great." Vylara hesitated, taking a step closer. Her hand hovered over the hilt of a massive curved blade strapped to her hip. "Impossible," she muttered. "Humans should burn in agony from even a single sip. Yet your body, it thrives. I must study you." Before Evan could respond, she moved with inhuman speed, grabbing his arm and dragging him toward the shadows of the giant crimson trees. He stumbled, laughing nervously. "Hey, you don't have to drag me." "I'm not gonna run." Vylara's expression softened slightly, though only a fraction. "You are mine now. You have consumed what is sacred. You cannot be left free." Evan's mind raced. He had survived hostile alien jungles, venomous creatures, and poisonous plants. But now he was being held captive by a towering, fanged warrior. Most humans would have panicked, but Evan, he was curious. And somehow he didn't feel fear the way he expected. The journey to her fortress was grueling. They moved through narrow rock passages and tangled undergrowth, Evan constantly tripping over roots or bumping into Vylara's powerful legs. She scowled each time but didn't release him. For all her fury, there was something in his presence that made her pause. No human had ever walked this path and survived. At last they reached her fortress, a structure carved from living rock, twisted and organic, glowing veins of blood-red energy running through the walls. It pulsed faintly, almost as if it were alive, resonating with her own essence. She pushed him inside and let him catch his breath. "Sit," she commanded. Evan plopped onto the smooth stone floor, still dazed. "I will decide what to do with you. Perhaps you will live. Perhaps not. Do not move." Evan tilted his head, curiosity overtaking his fear. "So, you're just gonna stare at me then?" "That's kinda awkward." Vylara's frown deepened. She had not expected him to speak so casually. No human had ever spoken to her without trembling in terror. Her lips twitched, almost but not quite a smile. You mock me?" she hissed. "Not mocking," Evan said quickly. "Just trying to make friends." He raised his hands in mock surrender. I'm Evan, nice to meet you. You're big. Very intimidating. But I like it, Valara blinked. Then for the first time in centuries, she laughed. A sound like chimes over jagged rocks, faint but genuine. It startled both of them. Evan grinned. See? Told you. You're not scary, just dramatic. Her laughter died as suddenly as it came. Do not test me, human, she warned. The others my kin if they learn what you have done. They will demand your death. Evan leaned back on his hands, ignoring the danger. Really? They'd actually want to kill me? I mean, I thought you'd be the scary one. Not a bunch of people in robes somewhere. Valara's eyes narrowed. I am the protector of the bloodline. They will not question me, yet if I fail, you will die. Evan tilted his head, a mischievous smirk forming. So basically, I'm stuck with you. Forever? Valara's fangs glinted as she bared them. Do not joke, human. You are mine now. Any harm that comes to you and you will face consequences far beyond your comprehension. Got it, Evan said, nodding seriously, though his grin never faded. Mine like a pet? Valara's frown returned, but it was tinged with something she hadn't felt in ages. Amusement. You are foolish. Yet your survival is remarkable. You will stay here. For study, for protection, until I decide otherwise. Days passed. Evan quickly adapted to the fortress's strange rhythms. He learned that Valara was not only strong but intelligent, commanding, and extremely proud. She trained warriors who regarded humans as weak and unworthy, yet she tolerated him. He asked endless questions about her people, the glowing blood, the energy that pulsed through the fortress. She answered carefully, testing his reactions. Evan also noticed something strange. His body was changing. He healed faster, moved more fluidly, and sometimes felt a strange pulse of power when he drew near Valara. She caught him staring once and snarled, Do not think you understand what you have become. This blood, it is not merely sustenance. It is power. And you, human, are not supposed to wield it. Evan smiled wryly. Guess I'm full of surprises. Their days together were tense but strangely comfortable. He would try ridiculous jokes. She would glare and pretend to ignore him. Yet despite herself, Valara found herself anticipating his questions, listening to his strange human logic and laughing quietly when he said something so bold it could have gotten him killed. Then one morning the inevitable happened. A messenger from the outer clans of her people arrived, demanding Evan's execution. He has consumed the royal blood, the alien envoy hissed. It is an abomination. Only death will restore honor. Valara's eyes flared. No, he is mine. Touch him and you will regret it. The envoy recoiled, surprised at her ferocity. Evan looked at her wide-eyed. You mean me? Yes, you, Valara snapped. Do not misinterpret my tolerance as weakness. You are under my protection. Evan laughed nervously, but a small, genuine smile tugged at his lips. Well, if I'm under your protection, does that mean I get perks? Like free refills of your blood? Valara froze. Then, before she could respond, a small chuckle escaped her. She pressed her lips together, hiding the hint of a smile, but the corners of her eyes softened. You are bold, she said finally. Too bold. Evan leaned back, grinning, still dripping crimson from the pool. Hey, I survived Threxus. I think I can survive you too. Valara's fangs gleamed in the dim light, not in anger but in acknowledgement. Somehow, she felt that she had just met someone who could change everything about her world. And Evan, for the first time, realized that drinking that forbidden blood hadn't just saved his life, it had bound him to a destiny he could never have imagined. The morning sun barely pierced the dense canopy of Threxes, casting a red glow over the fortress that had become Evan's unexpected home. He had spent weeks inside learning the strange rhythms of Valara's world. Despite the initial tension, their relationship had evolved from captor and captive to a strange, teasing companionship. Every day he discovered more about the alien fortress, her people, and most importantly, himself. He noticed that the blood he had consumed was changing him in ways he hadn't anticipated. His reflexes were sharper. He could leap higher and move faster than before. Sometimes faintly glowing veins ran along his arms, pulsing in time with Valara's own energy. The power was intoxicating, yet he didn't let it make him arrogant. Instead, he used it to learn, explore, and survive. Valara watched him closely, her sharp amber eyes always alert. She had never seen another being react to her blood like this. Zalthar had long believed humans were fragile, incapable of handling the potent essence of their lifeblood. Yet Evan not only survived, he thrived. She couldn't admit it, but part of her was impressed. One day, Evan followed her to the training grounds. Rows of Zalthar warriors, lithe and terrifying, moved in unison, practicing combat forms that made human soldiers look clumsy. Evan tried to stay at the edge, watching. Vylara noticed his fascination and raised an eyebrow. "You will not fight today," she said sharply. "You are not ready. Your strength is new, uncontrolled. You may harm yourself or them." Evan grinned, shrugging. "I'm just watching. Gathering ideas. Can't get into a fight if you're prepared, right?" Vylara's lips twitched, almost a smile, but she shook her head. "You're reckless, yes, but also observant." He noted patterns in their movements, the way energy flowed through their strikes and how their bodies anticipated each other. "Maybe one day I'll try," he said casually. "But only if I survive, of course." Vylara didn't respond, but she found herself quietly wishing he wouldn't say things like that. Humans were fragile, but this one defied every rule she knew. Weeks later, a messenger arrived from a rival clan, the House of Thraz. Their leader, Calaris, was furious. News had spread about a human surviving the royal blood. Such an event was considered an abomination, a threat to the hierarchy of their species. Calaris demanded Evan's death, sending an entire force to retrieve him. Vylara's fortress went on high alert. Warriors armed themselves, fangs bared, claws ready, yet Evan remained calm, standing beside Vylara as she planned their defense. "Are you seriously not scared?" Vylara asked, glancing at him. "I've been on Threxis," Evan replied. "You don't scare me." "Not really," Vylara scowled. "You are foolish. You will die if you are careless." "I prefer the term brave," and he said with a grin. The battle began at dusk. Calaris's warriors descended from the jungle, sleek and vicious, moving with deadly precision. The fortress shook with the force of their attack. Vylara led her warriors into battle, moving with supernatural speed and strength. Evan watched, learning every movement, every tactic. Then the unthinkable happened. Vylara was struck by a powerful strike from Calaris himself. She stumbled, fangs flashing in pain. Panic surged through her, but Evan didn't hesitate. Without thinking, he dove into the fray, deflecting an enemy with a swift movement of his arm, his new strength and speed making the impossible possible. Vylara stared in disbelief as he fought alongside her, not as a weak human, but as a formidable opponent. His veins glowed faintly, and his movements had a fluidity that no human should possess. Together they moved in perfect synchronicity, anticipating each other's strikes, overwhelming the enemy with a combination of raw human ingenuity and the unnatural strength the royal blood had granted him. By the time Calaris was finally forced to retreat, his forces shattered. Vylara was breathing heavily but uninjured. Evan stood beside her, smudges of crimson on his clothing, yet smiling. "You survived," she said quietly, almost in disbelief. "I told you I would," Evan replied. "Didn't think you'd let me die anyway." Vylara's expression softened, though she tried to hide it. "You are reckless," she murmured. "I prefer unpredictable," he said, grinning. In the aftermath, the alien court gathered. Whispers filled the halls about the human who had survived the royal blood, fought alongside a warrior queen, and changed the outcome of a major battle. Some feared him, others revered him. Vylara stood beside him, her presence a shield, her approval the only thing that mattered. "You will remain here," she announced to the court. "He is bloodbound to me. Any who harm him will face my wrath." Evan looked at her, trying not to smile too broadly. "Bloodbound, huh? Sounds serious." "Yes," Vylara said, her eyes glowing softly. "Serious. You are mine now, in ways more than one. The bond is sacred. You will drink willingly from me, and in return you will protect and honor this bloodline." Evan nodded solemnly. Then, as if to lighten the tension, he added, "So, instead of stop drinking, now it's don't drink too slowly, right?" Vylara blinked, her fangs glinting. For a moment she looked almost embarrassed. "Just shut up and drink, human," she said, her voice low and commanding, yet tinged with something softer. He laughed softly and knelt, taking her wrist gently. The blood he consumed now was not stolen or accidental. It was offered, a sign of trust and unity. He felt the power surge through him, steady, controlled, and intoxicating. His body shivered with the strength, but he did not falter. Vylara watched closely, her sharp amber eyes softening as the bond solidified between them. Days passed and Evan's transformation became more pronounced. He could sense energy flows, anticipate strikes, and even communicate silently with Vylara through subtle movements and shared instincts. Together they were an unstoppable force. He no longer felt like a mere human. He had become something beyond, a bridge between species, a symbol of human resilience and adaptability. Vylara, in turn, began to feel emotions long buried: curiosity, admiration, and even something she could not name, something akin to pride. She had never imagined that a human could be more than fragile and weak. Evan had defied every expectation, and she could not deny the bond that had grown between them. One night, under the glow of the twin moons, they stood on the balcony of her fortress, overlooking the jungle. The air was calm, and the pulse of the fortress was steady beneath their feet. Evan turned to her. "You know, I never expected this. Surviving the jungle, fighting your enemies. I thought I was just trying to stay alive. But now I feel like I belong here, with you." Vylara's eyes softened, and for the first time she allowed herself a small, private smile. "You do belong. Not just here, but with me. You are a part of this bloodline now, whether you understand it or not." He reached for her hand, not as a captive, not as a student, but as an equal. "Good, because I wouldn't have it any other way." A faint laugh escaped her lips and her fangs glinted in the moonlight. "Bold," she whispered. "Foolishly bold, human. And proud of it," he said, smirking. As they stood together, the pulse of the blood in the fortress seemed to match the pulse of their bond. Human and Zalthar, bound by fate, blood, and courage, ready to face whatever the universe could throw at them. They were no longer just human and alien. They were partners, warriors, bloodbound. Evan grinned, looking at her with a mixture of mischief and respect. "So, want to tell me what happens next, or are we just winging it?" Vylara shook her head, though she felt a strange warmth in her chest. "We are winging it, human. But together, and no one will take that from us." He laughed softly, the sound echoing through the fortress. "Good, because I like it when I win." She narrowed her eyes, but there was no anger, just a faint, amused acknowledgement. "You do not know the meaning of winning yet," she said. "But you will learn. With me." And for the first time in centuries, Vylara allowed herself to feel hope. Not for her people, not for power, but for something more. Something fragile and strong all at once. Something human. Evan looked up at the glowing sky, feeling stronger, faster, alive in ways he had never imagined. He had survived. He had thrived. And he had found a bond that even the fiercest warrior could not break. The jungle of Threxus would continue to test them, enemies would rise, and danger would always lurk. But together, human and Zalthar, they were unstoppable. They had survived the impossible. They had created something new. And as the twin moons bathed the fortress in soft red light, Evan grinned at Vylara and whispered, "So, ready for round 2? Vylara's amber eyes glinted, her fangs flashing, not in threat but in anticipation. "Always," she said, and in that moment the impossible became reality. A human had drunk the royal blood, survived, and changed the fate of an entire species, and the warrior who had once screamed at him had found something she had not known she needed: a companion, a protector, and perhaps something even more.